So, a few videos ago, I made my opinions on Black Ops 6 very clear. I thought it looked unhinged and unfocused, and a step even further away from what people like me have been waiting for years now, which is an old-school multiplayer experience. And while I admit that the shutdown of H2M was fresh in my mind at the time, and it definitely caused me to be a bit harsher than I probably needed to be, my general opinions for Black Ops 6 that I expressed in this video were 100% true, H2M drama aside. But, dear viewer, last week I came down with the flu, and over the weekend I had a few moments of lucidity in between Dayquil loopy sessions, and I gave the Black Ops 6 open beta a try. And while certain things about it are admittedly much better than I was expecting, several things also comfortably sit in the Joe was right camp, and I figured what better way to come back to YouTube now that I have my voice back than by making a sequel to this video to see where I was right and where I was wrong about Black Ops 6. But first, let's just start off with the positive. The feedback in Black Ops 6 is fantastic, genuinely fantastic. One of the most appealing things of a good Call of Duty game is the feedback that you get from the guns, the feedback that you get from contact, from combat. And Black Ops 6 has some of the best gun feedback and player feedback I've ever experienced in a Call of Duty game. I will give Treyarch credit for that. The guns are all very punchy, the hit sound effects are great, the movement is responsive. Like, in terms of just moving around, controlling your character, and the feedback you get from shooting somebody, Black Ops 6 is probably the best we've had in years. I think the last Call of Duty game to have really good feedback was Modern Warfare 2019, which was awkward because Modern Warfare 2019 was a terrible game outside of the feedback, but here we have Black Ops 6 with excellent gun feedback, and I will give them credit for that. And as usual, COD voice chat is still the funniest thing on the planet.
Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up, man. Who the fuck are you? Shut up, man. Who the fuck are you? Look at you sounding like this. Oh my goodness.
God damn, scary Terry, man.
Why are you gonna be like that, bitch?
The fuck you want, motherfucker? What you want?
What the?
So I thought, shut the fuck up,
kill
bitch.
myself.
Yeah, do it, you won't.
I'll do it right now.
I'm also happy to report that the maps are pretty good. The maps are rather fun. There weren't any maps in the beta that I thought were unenjoyable or that I actively didn't want to play. I definitely had favorites and ones that I would want to avoid, but ultimately, I think the maps in this game are pretty good so far. I was also rather iffy on Omni movement going into the beta. That was one of the big things that I harped on in my last video, is that I just didn't see a scenario where Omni movement would properly fit into a Call of Duty multiplayer, a fast-paced respawn shooter. I didn't really see how Omni movement, as it was being portrayed in the marketing and early gameplay, I just didn't understand how Omni movement would do more good than bad when it came to controlled and proper intelligent game flow in a Call of Duty game. And while I will be getting into the negatives of Omni movement in the next section, I do want to spend a couple minutes pointing out that there are a lot of things that Omni movement does excellently and that are genuinely great additions to the game. The first thing that comes to mind is prone movement. Moving while prone and turning while prone has never felt this good. If you've played Call of Duty to any degree, you probably know that turning while prone is basically just a giant gamble, or really just moving while prone at all, because up until this point, if you went prone and there was like a rock or a piece of paper on the ground next to your character, sometimes you would just randomly get frozen in place and it would say prone movement blocked, or prone has been blocked. And also turning was really slow once you went past a certain degree to your left or to your right. Omni movement completely takes that away, because now you can roll onto your back if you turn to a certain point. It looks goofy as shit when you watch someone do it, but when you're controlling the character that is doing it, it feels very fluid, and again, I will give Treyarch credit for this. Prone movement has never felt this good. This is the first time I've ever played a Call of Duty game where I didn't feel like I was being punished for being in a prone state for more than 2 seconds. I was also iffy on the ability to dive in any direction and to just neum yourself out windows and off of ledges and around corners, but I will say that Omni movement diving is pretty balanced, because yes, you can just neum yourself in any direction, but there is a cooldown on it. And if you're stupid or spammy with the diving, you are going to get killed for it over and over again because you'll be a sitting duck. So frankly, I think the diving is pretty well balanced, and I'm happy to see that this is something that I thought was going to be a problem that really isn't a problem. Little golf clap, Treyarch, you didn't break the game with this. I also think the automatic leaning is really intuitive. In this game, if you're aiming down the sights and there's a piece of cover somewhere in your field of view, HQ, your character will automatically kind of lean in order to keep the gun centered on your screen. They'll automatically lean around that piece of cover or over that piece of cover or over that obstruction in order to keep the gun in the middle of the screen. And honestly, I really like this. It felt intuitive. It felt very natural. It never felt like the game was fighting with me or leaning in a way that I wasn't trying to lean or trying to move my character in a way that I wasn't trying to move them. It's a very intuitive system. Golf clap for Treyarch. You didn't break the game. And see, when the game is functioning properly and you have all of these things mixed together in a nice little pot and the things in the negative section of this video aren't throwing rocks at your head, Black Ops 6 can be very enjoyable. But with that being said, let's move over to the negative. For starters, COD HQ is the worst fucking thing ever. I have that in my notes right here. I literally just wrote COD HQ is the worst fucking thing ever, and it gave the worst first impression of this game you could have possibly given to someone like me who was already on the fence. After the open beta went live, I went to the Black Ops 6 Steam page, I clicked download beta, I clicked download the Black Ops 6 beta from the Black Ops 6 Steam page. It downloaded the Black Ops 6 beta, and then I clicked launch on the Black Ops 6 beta, and then I got a pop-up from my computer yelling at me for not having the right set of drivers for Modern Warfare 3. Activision, I don't give a shit about Modern Warfare 3. Why are you reminding me of a game I actively chose not to play? I haven't even played your new game yet, and you're already reminding me of why I left this fucking stupid franchise. Also, the in-game interface is complete rubbish. I have that in my notes too, right there. The in-game interface is complete rubbish. I don't understand how Call of Duty could have such a great intuitive like lobby interface system for like 15 years and now this is what we're stuck with. How is this the peak of the franchise in literally any way? This is garbage. The interface in this game is complete garbage. I didn't even know you were capable of making it worse than it was. But going back to what I was saying about Omni Movement, all the nice things I said about Omni Movement are kind of outweighed by the fact that Omni Movement has also created a very random feeling game flow, just like I was worried it would. The movement system in this game absolutely rewards just button mashing and more inputs per second than it does strategic positioning or aiming. That is the exact opposite of what I wanted from this game. And there did come a point in the beta where I was like, okay, I have to lean into this. I understand that this game cannot be played like classic Call of Duty. And I will admit that once I leaned into that and accepted that, I was performing much better, but I was also not having as much fun. And I go back to what I said in my previous Black Ops 6 video. Activision shut down the H2M mod because they thought it was going to steal sales from Black Ops 6, implying that Black Ops 6 and H2M play similarly, but you literally cannot play these two games the same way. So you're just pissing me off even more that you shut down H2M and tried to force all the people who wanted to play H2M over to Black Ops 6 because Black Ops 6 is an entirely different gameplay experience. Not only is it a much quicker and demand way more inputs per second for literally no reason, but it is also a less refined experience because of it. The number of movement options and sprinting directional options and diving options means that everyone has way too many get out of jail free cards at any given time, and it makes positioning less important than it ever has been. Modern Call of Duty games just don't really involve map knowledge in the skill ceiling anymore, and I guess that's fine if that's the game that you want, but it's not the game that I want. I want a Call of Duty game that plays like Call of Duty, meaning it's about positioning, aiming, and shooting. Black Ops 6 is a game about mashing as many buttons as you possibly can because, again, like I said in the previous video, this format of arcade shooter was never built to be balanced around this. So of course, now that it's become an integral part of the experience, that part of the experience is fundamentally unbalanced. You took all the movement exploits that were in the Modern Warfare series that created all these balancing issues and you made them core parts of the game without adjusting the rest of the game around it. These maps are really good. This hit feedback is really good. The time to kill, honestly, I think is really good. The customization and class system is really good, but the movement fundamentally clashes with the kind of gameplay loop that Call of Duty has been designed around. And it's created a gameplay loop where your level of skill, like how skilled you are at the game, no longer involves things like map knowledge or map positioning or precise aiming, really. How good you are at the game really just has to do with how many movement options you can throw out on a per second basis. And again, it just pisses me off even more that you killed H2M for this. How little do you understand your own franchises? And I have other gripes in addition to Omni movement, mainly the gun balance. The gun balance needs to be completely reworked, and in ways that I don't see many people talking about. A lot of people were talking about the Jackal being overpowered, the Jackal SMG. Frankly, I don't even have much of a problem with the Jackal SMG, because I was having a perfectly fine time with the MP5, or sorry, not the MP5, the C9. How dare we use real-world gun names in our gun game? Guys, we can't use real-world gun names in the game. It might influence people to go get a real gun. We can't use real-world gun names in our game about shooting people with a gun. Guys, we can model the guns off of real-world guns and make it extremely obvious what these fake named guns are supposed to be in real life, but God forbid we use the real gun names. That's just a step too far. My problem with the gun balance honestly has nothing to do with the Jackal. It has to do with the fact that assault rifles are completely fucking useless in this game because submachine guns have no recoil at all, which means the SMGs, all of them, not just the Jackal, can properly compete with rifles at mid-range and longer, but they have faster TTKs up close and faster default movement speeds than the rifles, so there is literally no reason to use the rifles right now. Again, with what I said before about how this game is no longer about positioning, aiming, and shooting, the guns in this game have no recoil, like at all. There is no actual skill involved with hitting your shots consistently in this game, because anyone can hit shots consistently in this game, because this game is not about shooting anymore, it's about the movement, and you can't have a movement-based game with if you have guns that have recoil. Oh, no, no, no. Except you can have that, it's just then the game would actually be skill-based, and we can't have that in the current year under the Call of Duty branding. The gun balance in Black Ops 6 right now is completely screwed up by the fact that there is no recoil on any of the guns, which means the tier list of guns literally just has to do with what the actual raw TTK is. The raw DPS values are the only thing that matter in the gun balance right now, because all of the guns handle the exact same. There's no risk reward with, oh, you know, I'll take this super fast TTK weapon that kicks a whole lot, or I'll take this slower TTK weapon that has better handling. There's literally none of that anymore. Raw TTK is the only thing that matters because there is no actual gun skill involved with this game anymore. Nothing kicks. There's no recoil patterns to learn. There's no handling speeds you have to get the hang of, and that just doesn't make for a fun or balanced PvP experience. And speaking of fun and balanced PvP experiences, the matchmaking is inexcusably bad. I won't dwell on this because it's the thing that everyone has dwelled on ever since Modern Warfare 2019 introduced this new Call of Duty skill-based matchmaking system, the engagement-based matchmaking system. It is a horrible system that actively punishes you for being halfway decent at the fundamentals of the game, which in a game like this, where so much of the experience is based around camo challenges and grinding, and in a perfect world playing off-meta weapons in order to finish those challenges and those camo challenges, it makes the game actively less fun the better you get at it. Again, not gonna dwell on this because I hate it and everyone hates it, but it's not going to change. So I'll just throw a little snarky comment in here about how the matchmaking is actively terrible yet again, which sucks because a lot of the things in the negative section of this video I would be willing to overlook if it weren't for the matchmaking being so obnoxious, but it is obnoxious, so I can't overlook them. Which brings me to the conclusion. I'm still not sold on this game, even a little bit. I think there's things about it that are definitely better than Activision was letting them on to be. I definitely think this is one of the better Call of Duty games in the last few years, but I just don't care because there are still so many things that are fundamentally against what I want from this series, and it really doesn't help matters when you go out of your way to try and take those older experiences away from me by shutting down fan mods, by refusing to update the security in your older games but still continue to sell them at full price. It's like I said in the last video, Activision hates that you are not on the new Call of Duty game, and they will do everything in their power to make you get on the new Call of Duty game, which is extra frustrating when the new Call of Duty game does absolutely nothing to provide me with the experience that the old games you're trying to take away from me do. I didn't give a shit about Black Ops 6 before, and now that I've played the beta, I still don't give a shit about it. I enjoyed a good chunk of my time with it. But after a few hours, I just had this overwhelming feeling of, why am I here? What am I getting out of this? Why would I continue to play this when I could literally just hit Alt F4 and then go open Black Ops 2 Plutonium right now? I want Call of Duty to get better. I do want that. I don't want to act like I just want this franchise to crash and burn, because I think this franchise is still providing something that other franchises for some reason are just refusing to. But I'm not going to buy Black Ops 6. I don't think you should buy Black Ops 6. I think you should get Black Ops 2 Plutonium because it's really fun. And it's got a pretty poppin' community. And being a PC gamer, I take pride in the fact that if a corporation won't give us the game we want, we'll just fucking do it ourselves. Just look at Bloodborne on PC right now. It's amazing. But I just don't give a hoot about Black Ops 6 after playing it for myself. And frankly, you shouldn't give a hoot either. Toodles.